Hello Gobs, I'm the Goblin King and welcome back to another video. Hey, if you're not a Gob, subscribe and become a Gob today. You get to run around in the Goblin Cave. For those so on the fence about subscribing, I'm the Goblin King. I play, talk about, review both video game and tabletop RPGs. So if that interests you, I do 1 to 2 videos a week. Subscribe, become a Gob, do all that sorts of good stuff. And I'm going to get into today's topic, something different. Normally I'm reading RPG horror stories or reviewing a system. I haven't done too many systems review. I technically have only done one as of now, so I don't even know if this video is going to go out because this is extremely unscripted, but I'm just going to go through the process of creating a Pathfinder 2e character. Now, I'm always shilling, I'm always saying go play Pathfinder 2e, so I figured might as well show people, such as yourself, how to make an actual Pathfinder 2e character. I definitely didn't have a YouTube studio inspiration that says how to make a Goblin D&D character. I was like, I'll take it a step further and show people how to make a Pathfinder character, because Pathfinder 2nd edition is super all over the place. But once you read the rules and sit down, once again, like I said, way back in my RPG review system, that if you are going to play this, make sure everybody is on the same board, okay? This isn't like D&D where you can just like, hey guys, want to play D&D, and one person knows the rules. For Pathfinder 2e to work, everybody has to have somewhat of a grasp on the rules together. But we are going to be using the remastered rules. Of course, I'm using the Archives of Nephthys, not sponsored, okay? I'm not being paid to say this, but this website is totally awesome. You get not only the updated rules, you get all the rules, you get all the items, all the ancestries, all the feats. You get everything except the adventures. You have to go out and buy the adventures separately, which makes sense, I think. I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that you have to go buy the adventures separately, but you get all the items and stuff. So if you're a big homebrewer, you're a big custom campaign, then this website is awesome if you are playing Pathfinder 2e. This might become a series on how to actually play Pathfinder 2e, but I just wanted to sit down and show you guys how I make characters personally. But I want to show you guys how to make a Pathfinder 2e character and how I start making a character. So I'm just going to stick with core rules, nothing fancy, okay? We're not doing any additions or anything added on extra. We are just going to stick with core rules and we're just going to go from there. Now this is remastered, but I don't know any of the remastered stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and switch to, let me switch to Legacy. I'm a Legacy player. Whatever. We're doing something so simple today anyway. So, here's what I do. First, you gotta start with your character idea. What do you want to play? What do you want to make? I'm doing very classic. I'm doing a Goblin Rogue. Now, Pathfinder 2e has all sorts of classes to pick from, so it's very important that you want to know what class that you want to start. Here are all the classes available to you. You see you got all of this. Now, not all of these are base games, such as Thaumaturgy, Swashbuckler, Kineticus, Investigator, but they did recently, with the remaster, they did add Witch, which is the D&D Warlock equivalent, but they're not one for one, as you'll find with Pathfinder. So, main thing about Pathfinder 2e, don't compare it to D&D. But one thing about making a race that you'll find very differently is that you don't roll for stats. Everything starts at 10. Now, hold on, you're freaking out. I know you're seeing this character sheet. If this is your first time ever seeing Pathfinder 2e, this might be sensory overload, but it is much simpler than what you think. See all these little boxes? Most of these don't matter, because for most things, starting at level 1, you're only going to fill out this first box. What do these boxes mean? Well, if you look right here, that is your proficiency. So you have Trained, Expert, Master, and Legendary. When you start out, certain classes will tell you Expert in Fortitude, Trained in Reflex, Expert in Will. So you just take 2 plus your level, so starting out is 3 or 5 if you're Expert. You're never going to have anything start out at Master or Legendary. Maybe. There might be some DMs out there that, they might let you slip away for something, but starting out, you're only going to start with Trained and Expert. One thing about Pathfinder 2e is that there is a lot of decisions. You will make so many decisions, and everything will influence how your character plays. I mean, it won't not entirely different, but you really get to make the character that you want. Just about anything that you can think of. Now, obviously there's going to be some limitations. You'll have to cut some corners. It's not going to be perfect, but for the most part, you'll be able to make what you want. Now, starting up here, we have Ancestry and Heritage. Now, I made this sheet myself. This isn't a form fillable sheet. This is literally just taking the text tool and writing it over a blank sheet. But this is what I use anytime I make a character, or I've made a couple NPCs. You got to turn down the stats just a wee bit, but you can use this to make NPCs if you so desire. I mean, NPCs that are going to join the party. That's everything explained. I'm going to explain things as we go along, but one thing is vital about the ability scores. These all start as 10. You'll get boost based on your heritage, your background, and your class, and then finally you get 4 boosts at the end. But the main thing is you can't set these to the side, because whenever you get a free boost, depending on where you get it from, it has to go into something different that you already didn't get a boost in. So that might sound confusing, but let's just go ahead. Look at all these. They sure added a lot of races or ancestries or whatever you want to call it, but we're just doing Goblin, okay? Calm down. Just because there's all these available doesn't mean you have to use these, because if we go here, we can just see what's core, and then you can see uncommon, and then there's a special rule for versatile heritage, but we're not going to worry about that now. We're just making a very, very standard, basic character. So, obviously, I'm going to pick a Goblin. I wonder why. It tells you how they might act, what they look like, how their society is like, their beliefs, and even a couple of names. So, first thing for D&D, you might notice in D&D, you get your HP based on your class, which is usually the average of the dice, or a little bit more plus your con. Here in Pathfinder, you have your ancestry that gives you hit points, and then you have your class that gives you hit points, and then you add your con modifier to it. So, for example, Goblin has 6 con. That's what this little formula is. So I write 6 here, and then size small, so we go here, just set it small. Pick whatever alignment you want. Obviously, we're going to make like a Robin Hood type character, because, you know, we could be good goblins. Also, Pathfinder 2e is based because Goblin is a core race. D&D, we write down our feet. Can you guys tell I was making an elf before? Because most ancestries are going to have a base speed of 25. Now, here's the boosts I was talking about. So we have a dex boost, a charisma boost, and then a free boost. So our dex gets boosted. So boost gives you 2. I think they changed it for remaster, but essentially it's the same thing. 12 is 1, 14 is 2, 16 is 3. So our dex goes up by 12, and then our charisma also goes up by 12. And now it's important to note that we have a attribute flaw, which is the opposite of boost. So it's our wisdom. So our wisdom drops down to 8. Now we have a free boost that can't go into dex, and it can't go into charisma. So we have to pick strength, con, intelligence, or wisdom for our boost. So I think we're going to go with intelligence. Now you might be wondering, usually intelligence is a dump set in D&D. Intelligence defines how many extra languages you get and how many extra skills you get. So it's not exactly a dump skill in Pathfinder 2e as it is to D&D. But do not total anything up yet, for we are moving on. So now we get our languages. So we get common, goblin, and additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier, which we'll do at the end once we have calculated all of our boosts together. So I'm just going to go ahead down here, and then we get dark vision, which we can come down here to our race features. We get dark vision. So the next thing you do, you get to pick your heritage. So you get all these types of heritage. So we get like Charhide Goblin, which means we're resistant to burning. This one's a new type of goblin. We get the Iron Gut, which gives us a +2 against afflictions and all that. Razor Tooth, we get unarmed attack that deals 1d6 for brawling and finesse traits, which traits are a huge thing. But I think D&D 1 also does traits. But I won't go too much into traits, but that's generally how Pathfinder 2e keeps everything organized. So since we're making a rogue, this is generally what a lot of people go with, because you get this 10 HP and you get to reduce your falling damage as if you had fallen half the distance. So that's pretty good, you know, that's pretty cool. But as you can see, some of these features, some of these heritages, now once you select your heritage, you can't undo your heritage. But with your feat, your ancestry feat, you can actually, I'm pretty sure in the game, you can actually relearn a different feat unless it includes, like, you can't obviously get, there's like something for your jaws, and you can't obviously take this if you don't have the heritage feat, but you can get burn it or city scavenger or whatever. So we're just gonna make a little city goblin, okay? I'm thinking either Iron Gut, having to live off. Yeah, we'll just do an Iron Gut goblin. I'm not gonna write down. Normally I'd go through and write down everything. We're just going to go up here, Iron Gut Goblin, or you could type it either way. Now we're just going to pick a Goblin feat, probably Sitting Scavenger, why not? Our poor little goblin was raised in the scums. Oops. I wrote it in the complete wrong place. What are you doing, you crazy thing? See guys, if you're going to do this, obviously get a farm fillable one. I could have done this for this video, but oh well. That is our heritage done. And that's usually the first thing I start with whenever I do this. Obviously, I get an idea in my head, like I said, but I start with the class and then write down everything. Now, you don't actually have to make these decisions immediately. You can see what you want to make and then take it later on. When you're starting out and you're just selecting a race, maybe you don't know what class you want them to be. So you can save these all the way up until the end. The boosts are like the main thing that you have to write down. Those are the main things. You can make all your decisions later, but you have to make sure you do your boost now. So our next thing is going to be backgrounds. So we're going to go to our filters. Like I said, bare bones. We're just going to do our sources are just going to be core rulebook. There we go. Sorry, it's under player core. My mistake. Now we get all these type of abilities. I wonder what we're going to get. Yes, I wonder. But as you can see, these are not boosts. You don't get boosts to both of these. You pick one of these boosts, and then you get a free boost to put into something other than whatever ability you got here. And then you also get a skill that you're automatically trained in, and then you get a lore skill. Lore skills are hard to explain. It's based off your intelligence, as you can see down here. Based off your intelligence. But essentially, another reason not to dump lore, but if you have specific checks, you can use your lore instead of that check. So let's say you're not an acrobatic person, so you have a low dex. But if you worked in the circus, you'll know how to walk a tightrope, which is usually an acrobatic check to walk a thin tightrope, right? But if your circus lore is higher, your GM might allow you to use your circus lore to let you walk the tightrope instead. So sometimes your lore can be used in place of other skills. But that is, of course, up to your GM. But we are going to go ahead and make a little criminal. Criminal no more, as they saw the errors of the way. So perhaps they were a criminal marked by a high lord in the area. But for whatever reason, they are a criminal. So if we click on criminal, we'll be able to see. Choose two attributes. One must be dex or intelligence, and one must be a free boost. Obviously, we're going to raise our dex up. We want that high dex, but we're also going to raise our intelligence up. Because I think, we want to be a little jack of all trades. We want to know how to do a little... actually, we're going to pick thief, which will be important later. And then next, on your character sheet, you go to the box and you would mark, stealth. So you just go ahead and mark stealth, which I think... being a rogue, we are automatically trained in stealth, but whatever. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. So we have underworld lore. We know about criminals and organizations of the sorts. And then we get to experience smuggler feat, which lets us palm objects and smuggle objects past guards and what have you. So we have the experience smuggler perk. Done. That is our background done. Our background is done forever. And now we go on to probably one of the longest things, and that's writing down everything that your class does. But we are making a rogue. So our key attribute, which we get a boost in for your class. So whatever class you pick has a key attribute. So for rogue, it's dex or other based on your rogue racket. So don't write down the boost yet. You might have a racket that might let you select a different thing, such as scoundrel is charisma. So every class will have a boost that they give you, and then HP that they give you. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, you get all of this, but we're just going to focus on dex. You pick your racket because here's what you get at first level, everything in here. So as you can see, one of our things is selecting a racket. So we might as well just go ahead and select our racket right now. So our racket is obviously going to be now a cool thing about rogues and Pathfinder, like Ruffian, you can use your strength as an ability score. A rogue that uses strength, that's crazy. I actually enjoy that quite a lot. I really enjoy, when I say Pathfinder 2e really lets you do a lot, I really do mean they let you do a lot, but I just think it's so cool that you can be a rogue that has strength as your key ability. It's just so cool to me. but we are going to be a thief. Nothing beats the thrill of taking something that belongs to someone else, especially if you can do it unnoticed. You might be a pickpocket working the streets, a cat burglar sneaking through windows, or even a consultant testing clients' vaults for openings. When a fight breaks out, you prefer swift, lightweight weapons, and you strike where it hurts. When you attack with a finesse melee weapon or finesse melee unarmed attack, you can add your dex mod to damage rolls instead of strength modifiers. Yes, one of the key abilities is that finesse weapons use dex to hit, but use strength for doing damage. So if you are in another class that is using finesse weapons, remember, don't dump your strength. Take a lot of dex and then take some strength, or alternatively, if you want to do more damage but hit less often, then take less dex and take more strength. The decision's completely up to you, but since we're a thief, we don't have to worry about that. Our rapiers can attack with our dex, and then we're just going to write what type of rogue we are here. Of course, you can always come down and write it here for your first feature. So we are thief racket. How do you spell it? You don't have to put the entire description. It's like use dex for damage. And then our last racket benefit is that we are trained in thievery. Now, thieves also use dex as their primary ability score, so we're going to go to thievery and train. Now our dex is boosted. Now that is the last boost that is assigned to you. Once you have done all of your boosts from everything, you get 4 free boosts to put wherever you want. But each one has to go into something different as before. We can max out our dex, because 18 is the highest you can get as starting. We'll take a bit of con to get a little bit of more health. We'll take a little bit more intelligence for some more skills, and we'll even out our wisdom so we're not completely blind. Once this is done, you total up your scores. 10 is 0, 18 is 4, con is 1, intelligence is 3, wisdom is 0, charisma is 1. Now, whatever arm you pick, it's going to add to this, but for now, we are just going to add our 4 here, and we have 14 AC. Quite a lot, right? I mean, it's going to get better, but for now, that's our current AC if we're not wearing armor, which is pretty significantly high compared to D&D. Give me a moment, because we are not done calculating everything. That was just our racket. We still got a whole slew of things, starting as down here. So, we are expert in perception. We are going to mark another one here because all classes are either trained or expert. So our wisdom is 0, and then our proficiency is 5. So yes, as you level up, your proficiencies will go up. So everything that you're proficient or trained or whatever in will also increase, because when you're level 2, all of this becomes 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 2, 6. So as you level up, your characters will, it's not a significant increase, but like I said, don't compare it to D&D. This is its own separated thing. So the numbers are going to seem pretty high, but our total perception here is 5. You might be wondering, what is initiative? Perception, usually, is your initiative. Of course, whenever you start a battle, if you're hiding, your GM might let you use stealth. Or if you're hanging on to the side of a cliff, your GM might let you use athletics. So there are other skills for your initiative to be using, but perception is your primary one. We are going to finish calculating our con, which I forgot to do, but we get 8 plus con. So we get 8 here, 1 here. Now, that's it. That's all of our health. We're going to add it up. 6 plus 8. Don't hate on me. I'm not good at math. For a total of... we have 15 HP starting out. Mind you, fighters get around, depending on your race and stuff, can get around like 20, 21. Now, if we had picked the Unbreakable Goblin, we'd be at 17. So, our senses down here, we can just type we have Dark Vision once again, to remind us that whenever you walk into a cave, that you have dark vision. Next, we mark our saving throws. Train, expert, expert. So, instead of having ability saving throws in D&D, where each ability has its own separated saving throw, Pathfinder is split up into Fortitude, which is physical effects, Reflex, which is dodging the effect, and Will, which is resisting the effects. We are not good at resisting poisons and other likes, but we have Iron Gut. Remember, I'm not sure if Iron Gut helps with poison, but it's definitely going to help our Fortitude save. For a Reflex of 9, as a Goblin should be. Wisdom is 0, but our proficiency is 5. These saving throws, well, I mean, they're average. Of course, 3 is going to be bare minimum, and then 9 is going to be max. So even then, just putting just a little bit into some of your skills helps out. Next, we see what we're trained in. We're already trained in Self. It doesn't go to Expert or anything, and then we're trained in Thievery, and then we get 7 plus our Intelligence modifier, which, remember, our Intelligence is up to 3. We get 3 more languages to throw on here. I'm not going to pick them, but just know we have 3 other languages that we could pick, that our character knows how to read and speak. Our skills is 7 plus 3. We have 10 skills to throw everywhere. This is why you can't dump intelligence, because getting that minor +3 in a skill, even if you don't have anything in the ability, might help you down the line. You never know. You'll get a bunch of stuff you can do. So we're trained in acrobatics. We're going to be trained in athletics for climbing, trained in craft because we're going to make our own poison or something. We're going to deceive the people, but we're also going to make sure people are okay. I'm not even counting anymore. 1 or 5 skills down. We might want to say we're going to start bottom up. But you can't take another lore skill. Something else has to give you a lore skill, so you can't mark down another lore skill. Now, we don't need to know a bit about society to help with our underworld know-how. Yeah, we'll take survival. We practically have every single skill possible. I mean, like I said, we did a little skill monkey. Do we have anything else for dexterity? Nope, because we have it all. Yeah, we know a bit about the stuff that we picked up. We won't know anything about nature, but we know about occultism. Our character broke into some houses they probably shouldn't have, and they spent a bit of time at the Pantheon trying to convince some god to give them power or something. And now we'll just fill this all in. Yep, for every single thing you're training, you're going to get a fat whopping 3, which is better than 0 or negative. So skip ahead to when I have this all filled up, so, or speed it up. I think speeding it up's funnier. These boxes threw me off the first time I seen this screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these little boxes. And then once you learn, you're like, oh, these are nothing. As with most TTRPGs, when you first see that screen, like Cyberpunk threw me for a loop because that system has a lot of skills in it. There we go. Our skills are finished. I may have messed up somewhere, but boom, look at all those skills you get. And we're just a rogue. Of course, rogues in D&D also get a lot of skills, but I think the Pathfinder rogue, come on guys, you gotta admit, they got him beat out, okay? That was just our skills. We're still not done yet. We still have more. So every class is going to be trained in unarmed attacks, even wizard. I don't think there's a single class that's not trained in unarmed attacks, because down here you just write what you're trained in. So trained in simple, and surprisingly, we're trained in martials. So trained, that's important for weapons like this later on. I just wrote that here because sometimes you get other weapons that you're trained in. We're also trained in unarmored and light armor. Now, whatever armor we take, we're automatically going to be trained in it. So, unarmored, we have an AC of 17. Now, I'm not going to talk about shields. No, you know what? I will talk about shields, because there's no shield proficiencies. Everybody can use a shield, but some classes can use a shield better, because not every class gets a shield block reaction. Now in Pathfinder, one of the key differences is you get 3 abilities. This can be move, attack, move, or you can attack. Everybody gets multiple attack penalties. But that's probably going to be for another Pathfinder if this if this video does a lot, people want to see more Pathfinder 2e stuff, then that's what this is here. I'm not exactly a Grandmaster, and it's been a while, so my memory's a bit foggy on it. But shields, essentially, they do have an AC, they do have toughness, but if you raise a shield, such as with a buckler, so as you can see, a buckler gives you +1 AC. On your turn, you have to spend 1 action to raise a shield that will add whatever AC of the shield to the armor. But that shield won't block damage for you. You have to have a specific reaction called shield block, which then the shield has a certain hardness. So here, the buckler has 3 hardness. It will block 3 damage, and then whatever HP is left over will carry over to the shield and to you. So let's say you block an attack for 5. You have the shield block. You shield block for 3 of it, 2 goes to the shield, and 2 goes to your person. I don't care if that's realistic or not, that's just how shields work. But we are going to take a buckler, which we really don't need to write that down because we're not going to get shield block. At least rogues don't get shield block. There might be a way for them to get it, but for now, we're not going to have it, and I'm not going to talk about it this episode. But we are trained in rogue class DC. What that's for is that certain classes have abilities, then it basically says the opponent has to roll against your DC. Because in Pathfinder, another big thing is there's no roll-offs. You're not going to have like acrobatics versus acrobatics. You're going to have acrobatics versus like athletics DC. For example, if you're trying to grab someone, you have to roll athletics against their choice of acrobatics or athletics. So their DC is 10 plus their skills. So my character has a 17 in acrobatics. So the enemy would have to roll their athletics. So they roll their D20 and then they have their athletics and they have to try to beat my acrobatics DC. It's the same for any DC. Any DC, you only roll against DCs in Pathfinder. Just some cases where you get to do a roll-off, but for the most part, you're going against a DC, which I enjoyed it a lot. My players really didn't. They'd much rather take the roll. I'd rather just have them go against my DC, honestly. I never seen the problem with it, but they didn't like it. It's different for people, but I mean, if you look at D&D, you're always going against DCs. Like, if you want to do an Arcana check, you have to go against a DC. There's not that many roll-offs in D&D. It was just a few cases like trying to grapple somebody. Like in D&D, it's a roll off. In Pathfinder, it's against the DC. But once you write all this stuff down, then you read the first table, so you get your ancestry and background, attributes, initial proficiencies, which is all of this. You get your rogue racket, which we already took down. And then each classes have these features. So we get sneak attack. So when an enemy can't properly defend yourself, because there's no advantage in Pathfinder 2e, there's a spell that lets you roll an additional 20 True Strike, but there is no advantage. When your enemy can't properly defend itself, you take advantage to deal extra damage. If you strike a creature that has off guard, which was previously, what was it previously? I don't know what it was previously. Before they remastered it, it was called something else, but basically off guard is, well, here you go. It's when they have a -2 to their AC, so, and you strike them with an agile or finesse weapon, yada yada yada. It's kind of like D&D, you know, dexterity based weapons in D&D. You deal an extra 1d6 precision damage, which means it's damage that can only be dealt to creatures that have vital spots. So you can't deal precision damage to a slime because a slime doesn't have a vital spot. That's all precision damage is. Your feature for rogue, or one of your features, is sneak attack. But then we have surprise attack, which this is one of the ways we can get off guard. The first round of combat, if you roll deception or self for initiative, see what I mean? You can roll other skills for initiative, but those creatures are off guard, which lets you do sneak attack. Now, there are tons of other ways to get your opponents off guard. In Pathfinder, there's a bunch of other abilities besides attacking that lets you get your opponent off guard, such as, I think you could do like a distracting strike or something, or your friendlies can also help you knock enemies off guard, so you can get that sweet little sneak attack damage in. Now, I'm fairly certain that these other brackets provide ways for you to get your opponent off guard, such as feinting. See? That creature is off guard if you do a recall knowledge check on a creature. All these other classes have ways for you to knock people off guard. They don't really have it here, but you do get this sweet bonus of using dex on your damage. So that was our second feature, is surprise attack. Go ahead, just write that down. Then all martial classes get a feat. Wizards, sorcerers, bards, they don't get a feat to pick from at first level, but they do get, well, they get spellcasting, so that's their feat. Spellcasting. So for rogue feat, we're just going to come here, sources, switch it to player core to not overwhelm your mind with all the options. Of course, if you love options, then go ahead and use all options. If you're a GM, I wouldn't suggest having all the ancestries available straight from the get-go, such as with this. Remember, always check what your players are picking. Obviously, you don't have to like be over their shoulder constantly. So for our rogue, yeah, we're gonna grab Trapfinder. He breaks into a lot of houses. And then rogues, since they're special little babies, they get a skill feat. You gain skills feats more often than others. You get a first level skill feat. Now, there's a ton of different other feats. There's general, no skill. Skill feats are feats specifically based on skills that you usually, most always, have to be trained in. So you can always filter it for what skills you have. So if you want to see specific stealth skills, of course, we're trained in like everything. So, you know, we can see all types of skills that we have. So let's see stealth. So obviously you have to meet the pre-request and then get that. But we already have this, and we don't really need terrain stalker because we live in the city. Our character live in the city. So let's see what else they know. We might grab society. Quarterly graces, life and numbers, gain content. Look at all these skills that you can pick. Streetwise, you can use your society instead of diplomacy to gather information. Hey, that's pretty good. We took diplomacy, but hey, our character is streetwise. We can go ahead and write that down, and because most classes don't get a skill feat till second level, so we can either write it down here or you can write it here. Write it someplace that you know. Now, D&D, you have to pick your equipment, or they do have the optional rule where you can take gold and buy things, but in Pathfinder, you get 15 gold to spend on everything. Now, for every character, I always pre-request that they take the Adventurers Pack. Definitely take the Adventurers Pack. I mean, you get rations and all the good stuff for adventuring. So now we can go to equipment, and we can just, I already know what I want to take, so we can go to armor. We want some light armor. We should check the price of it. We're probably going to get just some simple leather armor. Check penalty means you have to have the strength requirement to wear it. So what is the strength requirement? Right here. Strength. strength, +0. You just have to have a non-negative strength in order to beat the check penalty. That's all that means. Heavier armors have higher check penalties, or do have higher strength requirements, which the check penalty is a -1 on anything that says armor here. You take a -1 for the check penalty. If you meet the strength requirement, you take the speed penalty down by 5 feet. So certain heavier armors reduce it by 5 feet. Or if you meet the requirement, which here it's 2, it's reduced to nothing. But if you take 10 and you meet the requirement, then it's dropped to -5. But that's if you wear heavy armor, which you're not going to get at level 1. I think it's like a level 2 thing. Now for the level, you don't have to worry about the level. I used to think you couldn't purchase past your level, but you can. If your GM lets you, you can purchase level 2 stuff, but generally, when you get your spending gold, you can only buy common stuff. You would have to talk to your GM about buying certain uncommon stuff. But we are just taking leather armor, which is just which has a cap of 4. So if my dexterity ever goes above 4, we have to take the cap instead of our dex. So we might as well just run around unarmored. But that's what the cap on armor is. So our total AC is 18. And then for our weapon, we're just gonna take, a classic. The rapier, one-handed martial sword, which lets us use a buckler. Now, this might be a good time to go into traits. Deadly D8. The trait tells you on a critical hit, you get to roll a D8 in addition to your other damage, but you roll it after. So critical hit, you roll your dice, double the damage, and then you get to roll a D8 because it's deadly. It has the disarm trait, which means you don't have to whatever. The traits are all super specific. You just have to read it, and it gives you an explanation on it. So, finesse. We want to make sure we have finesse, so we're just going to write it. About to see some big numbers. Alright, yeah, here. So, since we're using dex at 4, since we're training at 3, for a total of +7 to our attack roll. Our damage is 1d8, right? So 1d6 piercing. And since we're a thief, we can use our dex. So we do a minimum of 5 damage with our rapier, not bad, but our trait is deadly d8. Which might be a good time to explain how crits work. So Pathfinder works in tiers of succession. So you have crit fail, fail, succeed, crit succeed. Whenever you roll a 20 on the die, you automatically move to success. Regardless of the DC, you automatically have a success. Then, if you look on the dice, add up all your totals. If the total then beats the AC or DC of whatever you were doing, you get another success, which means you have scored a critical success. So yeah, 2 successes is a critical success. So that sounds a bit weird. I think it makes perfect sense. But also, if you get 10 above the DC, you also get another success. So you're already succeeding, and then you get 10 plus, you get a critical success. Why does that matter? Well, when you have like kobolds at 12 and you're like a level 10, so you have like plus whatever, you're hitting definitely like above a 22, you're automatically going to crit succeed on that kobold. That's a pretty cool feature of Pathfinder 2e. So nat 20 doesn't mean you automatically pass. It usually means your results going to be more favorable than just failing it. And then a nat 1, well, same thing. It increases your failure by another step. Let's say the DC is like 12 and you have like a +11 and you roll a 1. Well, you still add your +11 to the 1. You beat the DC. It's not a crit fail. It's just a regular fail. So that's a little bit on the crit and successes. Which, a cool thing about a buckler is that you can use it as a free hand. You can't hold a weapon in it, but you can use it as a free hand and still have AC. So, again, since no one needs shield proficiency, you might as well throw a buckler on your wizard. And he can hold whatever spellcasting focus and is offhand that the buckler is on. We're going to go ahead by short bow. Now, ranged weapons don't add dex to the damage. Call it a downside if you want. Do add it to hitting. But yeah, since you can easily get away from people, because not everybody has attack of opportunity. In fact, it is very rare in Pathfinder for someone to have attack of opportunity. Of course, fighters get it. That's probably why they don't have any type of dex damage on ranged weapons. Of course, like I said, you can multi-attack, but every time you attack, you have a penalty. So your first attack is free. Your second attack is -5, so our +7 makes it into a +2, and then your final attack is a +10. Certain weapons might decrease that multi-attack penalties. I think it's -4, -8, and then there's other ways to circumvent it. There's just all sorts of little cool and nifty stuff that I might save for another video. I think I said a bit too much in this video already, so I'm just going to end it here. Our little goblin rogue is finished. So if this was an interesting video to you. So, if Pathfinder 2e was interested in you, I recommend going to the archives and reading up on some of the rules and maybe trying to get your players into it. If they prefer more, there are tons of things you can do in this. There's so many actions, there's just so many decisions and customizability that you can do in this game. And I really just wanted to get this out there and show people how to make this. Like I said, this might become like a little Pathfinder 2e series. This might become a series for any system that people want to see. I would be happy to go through and make example characters for people on all the systems that I love playing. Pathfinder's not a system I love playing. I don't really play it anymore. But it would be fun to show off like Fabula Ultima or Ryutama or Lancer. So if you guys like this type of video, let me know. And if this is your first time seeing me, well, thank you for watching. Just anybody watching, thank you. I like experimenting. I like trying new things. If there's something you want to see, then let me know in the comments. I do TTRPG stuff, as you can tell, but I also do video game stuff. Go and check out some of my video game reviews. But that's it for today. Check my social media in the description if you want to reach out to me or just see what I'm thinking about. And I hope you gobs have a lop of a day. May your adventures remain less of a mess than whatever this video was.